Here we're going to Fantasy Bar talking week 6 of the NFL. 6 of my favorite plays for you on FanDuel and DraftKings, including one of my favorite quarterback pass catcher pairings. Some running backs I think are in some amazing spots. We'll get you some value as well. Some guys I think are under-owned. And of course, my favorite play on the entire slate. Who we talking about? Only one way to find out. It's time to belly up to the Fantasy Bar. Welcome in, guys. Week 6 edition of season cruising on here. And we are back. 6 guys fresh off the tap for you on FanDuel and DraftKings. Thank you as always. Stop by the Fantasy Bar and checking out this week's video. Before we get to the week 6 plays, do me a favor and hit that tip jar. Best way to help us out is simply hitting that thumbs up button. Thank you for that. Subscribe, hit that notification bell as well so you don't miss any of the content. All right, let's take a quick look back at week 5. So week for us. Nobody killed us. Wanted some bigger ceilings out of some of these guys, so we'll walk through them here. First play, Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, expected more of a ceiling there, but a solid day. Michael Pittman was off to a great start. That game, unfortunately, got out of hand. Didn't have to do much through the air. Scatterbo, decent day as well. Ferguson, big day with 2 touchdowns for us. And the Jets, yes, it was ugly, but they got there in the end. Garrett Wilson scoring a touchdown at the end. Justin Fields, as ugly as it was, put up another big fantasy day here. And garbage points count the same as any other fantasy points. So again, not the greatest week, not the worst week. Let's shoot for more upside and more ceiling here in week 6. All right, let's get things rolling at the running back position with our first play, Enrico Dowdle of Carolina. Now, Dowdle absolutely huge last week, going over 200 yards on the ground, over 30 DraftKings points. And while I'm not expecting that kind of production here this week against Dallas, he is absolutely set up for another big game here. Chuba Hubbard has not practiced as of this recording, and we get the old revenge narrative here against the Dallas Cowboys. He's already talking about it as well, and it doesn't mean it's a guaranteed thing that he's going to smash, but he's definitely going to be motivated going into this game. And the ownership was kind of surprised here on Enrico Dowdle. Looks a little bit low to me. I think it jumps up here as we get closer to Sunday, but I don't think it's high enough here at these prices in this matchup. I think he's a solid guy to look at in your cash games as well. A lot of good running back plays on this slate, but Dowdle looks like still one of the best values out there right now. Dallas has given up the most receiving yards to running backs, and we saw him involved in the passing game last week. Also have allowed the 6th most fantasy points to the running back position on the season here. Rico Dowdle, ownership too low, price too low, and the matchup great here in this revenge spot against the Dallas Cowboys. All right, let's go to the wide receiver position next with Stefon Diggs of New England. So the Patriots been waiting for Stefon Diggs to step into this role as the alpha in this passing attack. We've had Hunter Henry looking good. We've had Kayshon Boutte looking good here. But Diggs really starting to emerge here. I think it's a fantastic buy low, under 6,000 on both sites right now. Last 2 weeks, 19 targets for him, has gone over 100 receiving yards in both of those games. And the Patriots really look good in the spot. 24.5 point projection this week in New Orleans. Saints, numbers look good against wide receivers, but they haven't really faced a ton of great wide receivers on the season here. Have given up over 222 passing yards per game in the last 4. I think we get some scoring in this game here. I think Diggs continues to act as the number 1 receiver here, and we are simply not paying number 1 receiver prices. All right, we like Stefon Diggs. Let's pair him up with our favorite quarterback in Drake May. Now, you guys might be getting sick of seeing Drake May in the 6-pack. Had him here a couple times already this season, and although last week the numbers statistically were not great, he looked absolutely amazing in that game against the Buffalo Bills. And I think we get back to some more fantasy-friendly numbers here this week against the New Orleans Saints. Before last week, 3 straight games of 21 or more DraftKings points, and a lot of that fueled by his rushing ability. But I think that comes into play here this week. New Orleans bottom 10 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks this season. They've allowed the 3rd most passing touchdowns already with 11. And they are also bottom 8 in fantasy points allowed. Again, I think we get some fireworks in this game. I think Drake May, a big reason why here this week against the New Orleans Saints. All right, back to the wide receiver position with a rookie that is absolutely on fire right now in Emeka Egbuka. Now, this one not going to be sneaky. I think he's definitely going to garner some attention, but you want him in your builds this week, cash games, tournaments. Certainly a guy that I'm going to want a ton of exposure to, just putting up absolutely historic numbers right now. And yes, the price is up. I don't think it's up high enough yet here on Emeka Egbuka. Last 4 games, 32 targets for him. Some of the metrics and separation, the looks he gets on first read targets, all looking off the page here. And not only are the Bucs going to be without Mike Evans, could potentially be without Chris Godwin again here this week. So that could be even more work and more targets for Emeka Egbuka. 5 touchdowns through the first 5 weeks of the season has already given us some big ceiling games, 3 games of 23 or more DraftKings points. That huge game last week, and another good spot here in another game. I think we could see a lot of scoring in Emeka Egbuka, one of my favorite wide receivers here for week 6. All right, let's get you some value and some correlation from that game at tight end with Jake Tongas. Now, the Niners going to be ugly here again in this pass catcher core. Kittle going to remain out at least one more week. Pearsall Jennings looking iffy at best to play again this week. So it's going to be another big dose of guys like Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, and Jake Tongas, who I think goes forgotten here. And it's really been a nice surprise for this Niners team and for us fantasy players. Touchdowns in 3 of 5 games so far this season. That has been an Achilles heel for the Bucs this season. 4 touchdowns already allowed to this position. Bottom 12 in fantasy points here. Nice value here, and I think he finds the end zone once again this week against the Tampa Bay Bucs. All right, it's time. Take a look at my favorite play for week 6. Before we do that, let's continue our Beast of the Week contest. Congrats to our recent winners who walked away with a free month of RotoGrinders Premium. Your shot to win that same prize coming up here. All you got to do, yes, fantasy points on DraftKings for my Beast of the Week after you hit that thumbs up button, of course. And if your guess is the closest, simple as that, you're going to walk away with a free month of RotoGrinders Premium simply for hanging out with me in the fantasy bar. All right, let's wrap things up with my favorite play for week 6. You know, Mass, Beast of the Week. All right, we owe you one more running back. A lot of great plays on this slate, but we are going to roll with Josh Jacobs of Green Bay, this week's Beast of the Week. So Jacobs and the Packers in a great spot here, coming off the bye. Big 14.5-point home favorites here against the Cincinnati defense. And Jacobs just doesn't seem to be getting the attention that some of the other backs get. And they're all great plays, no doubt. Guys like Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, Devon Achane, Christian McCaffrey. But if Jacobs is going to be low owned in the spot, just don't understand why. Cincinnati has absolutely been destroyed by running backs, second most rushing yards on the season here, giving up an average of 33 DraftKings points per game. So I can already hear you guys. If Green Bay crushes them, we're going to see Emmanuel Wilson. I think there's enough here where both guys can have a big game. Jacobs still the bell cow in that offense, and I think he goes for not one touchdown. I think he finds the box multiple times here. His passing game involvement has been big the last couple weeks as well. Just an absolute dream spot here. Josh Jacobs, easily my favorite play on the board in this week's Beast of the Week. All right, guys, that'll do it for our Week 6 six-pack. As always, any comments, questions, feedback, hit me up in that comment section right below the video. And make sure you get your guess in. Josh Jacobs, DraftKings points. If your guess is the closest, easy as that. We're going to give you a free month of RotoGrinders Premium. While you're down there, who is your Beast of the Week? Would love to hear your guys' top plays on this slate. Agree with me? You got somebody else? Sound off in that YouTube comment section. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck here in week 6, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for checking out our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more DraftKings, FanDuel, and other DFS content. And you can check out our daily live show schedule on RotoGrinders.com/videos.